Hey everybody, this is Blaine, co-host of the BNN Podcast Show. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome to our new little series that we have going on where I and whoever else will be dropping you guys some news on a pretty much daily basis on what is going on in entertainment where it comes to movies, books, games, comics, the whole nine, just to give you some insight of what's going on for all you cats out there that don't have a chance to get to see what's going on out there. So, word is that Nick Fury isn't in Avengers 3, 4, or Black Panther. Isn't in Avengers 3, 4, or Black Panther, and Samuel L. Jackson is not happy about it. So let's dive into this and have a deeper discussion on what's going on. Okay, so let's go. Marvel Studios star Samuel L. Jackson seems to be pretty peeved that he wasn't invited to appear in 2018's Black Panther. The Hitman Bodyguard star told us Nick Fury won't be in Avengers 3, Avengers 4, or Black Panther, but it's his character's omission from the Africa set Marvel adventure that seems to have him annoyed the most. I wasn't in the superhero argument movie. I'm not in Avengers 3 and 4. They're shooting them now, and they haven't even called me yet. Jackson tells Yahoo Movies. They wouldn't even let me go to Black Pantherville, so it's kind of like, how are you going to have a Black Marvel movie and not let Nick Fury show up in it? Scroll down. Black Panther is the first solo outing for Chadwick Boseman's Marvel hero who was introduced in the superhero argument movie, Captain America Civil War. The bulk of Black Panther, which comes to cinemas February 2018, takes place in the fictional African country of Wakanda and features a majority of African or African American cast. In the MCU, Nick Fury has been in hiding since Captain America the Winter Soldier, and he briefly resurfaced in Avengers Age of Ultron. If Jackson is to believe to be in the next we believe the next time his character will appear in the MCU is 2019's 1990 set Captain Marvel, which will act as a prequel to the main MC narrative, excluding the first Avenger. This is him and Ryan Reynolds. This is their latest movie that comes out, I believe, this Friday. If I can, I'll be able to check it out, and I'll drop a review for it up for you guys and see what happens from there. It was recently revealed that Samuel Jackson had been dethroned as the highest grossing actor of all time by none other than Marvel legend Stan Lee, thanks to numerous cameos, but Jackson says he doesn't count. How does Stan get into the conversation, he asked. Stan can't be in the conversation. It's just me and Harrison Ford. Stan's not in the conversation. I'm not buying that. I'll accept Harrison, but I won't accept Stan. Samuel Jackson plays the titular hitman in this week's new action comedy, The Hitman's Bodyguard, in cinemas August 18th. So this is the news of what's going on. Samuel Jackson's character, Nick Fury, far as we know, is not in Avengers 3, 4, and also he's not in Black Panther. Thus far, there's always reshoots, so we'll see. But thus far, he's not in it. But yeah, for this particular video, unlike what I did for the last video, let's really talk more into it why Nick Fury is not in these films as far as we can tell, as far as we are to believe. Let's really talk about it and really get into it. So, see you on the other side. What's good, everybody? I'm Blaine. Welcome to the BNN channel. I was about to say the BNN podcast. I'm so used to saying that. But yeah, this is the second video actually. If you've seen our previous video where we talk about John Bernthal, if you haven't checked that out, but if you have seen through this playlist, you know that the first one that we did for this particular playlist is the John Bernthal video. So go check that out if you haven't. It's really short. But for this one, I felt like it was a very good opportunity to dive deep into it. We kind of touched it. If you listen to our last podcast, if you haven't checked that out too, I broke it up into two parts for y'all. First one deals with us just catching back up with Cassandra. We talk about movies, a little bit of games, stuff that Disney and Netflix is doing, their whole collide. thing that's going on with them. And we did talk about the Marvel movies with the Skrulls now, even though they're talking about the Skrulls with Captain Marvel and everything. And I thought this was a great opportunity to talk more about what's going on with Marvel as far as the next thing that might be jumping up dealing with Nick Fury. Now, obviously, from the Yahoo Movies article, we learned that supposedly Nick Fury would not be in Avengers 3, 4, and also Black Panther. A lot of folks, including myself, are wondering, well, why not? Especially for Black Panther, it's an all-black cast. You know, if you know Samuel Jackson's work, you know pretty much if it was an all-black cast for any type of movie, he pops his head in it, especially if it's something dealing with Spike Lee joints, Tarantino. You know, I just watched Jackie Brown, so that was a playback to black exploitation movies. But you know that Samuel Jackson has a history of being in these type of films, so you would think, especially for Marvel, this is like the first big on-scale all-black cast for a movie like this. You would have think that you would have put Nick Fury in it. Now, as far as we know, from what they're telling us, he is not in the film. He could be. He could pop up towards the end, maybe. But I think also they wanted to keep the film. I don't think they wanted to probably overdo it. You know what I mean? I think they just want to focus on Black Panther and Wakanda and all the other people. We know everybody else. It makes sense to see uh, I'm about to butcher the name. God, Ulysses. Ulysses is almost like Odysseus, but it's if you ever read like mythology, like from the Greeks and Romans, you know they switch the names and other stuff. So the other name that they use for Odysseus from the Odyssey, Ulysses. I think that's it. Ulysses. Bear with me with y'all. Ulysses Claw. It makes sense for him to be in that movie because he has a deep connections toward the Black Panther lore. It makes sense to see Martin Freeman's character in there because he also has ties to the Black Panther lore as well. He's that government guy. He's one of the ones that finds out, if I'm not mistaken, about the world of Black Panther. You know, if you go and check out the Black Panther TV series, the animated one, the little motion comic animated series one that BET had on before he got canceled because it dealt with some real stuff and the TV syndication here is like, yo, we gotta stop showing this. It can't be shown here. It's showed everywhere else in the world, but not here. And once you see the first episode, really, you'll understand why. It's like, oh, it's like, yeah, it's up there. So, but going back on topic, you would think for Samuel Jackson, especially him, he will pop into that film. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. It's kind of fishy for him not to be in Avengers 3 and 4 as well, because he's the one that started up this whole team. So why is he not in 3 and 4? Now, the last time we seen him, and the article mentions it, Nick Fury was injured after Winter Soldier. He was in that car wreck where Winter Soldier, where Bucky did that, where he shot an explosive at the SUV and turned the car face, on his back, and Nick Fury should have died. Obviously, he didn't. He's still around. He was also in the Avengers Age of Ultron movie. So we know that he's still around. Where is he? Nobody knows. He's underground. Now, if they follow the comics, when Nick Fury went underground, he started a whole nother team. I can't think of the name of him right now, but he started his own little underground team. I can't think of it. Probably by the time we do the podcast, our next podcast later this week, it'll be updated for you guys later on. I'll remember what was talked about. what the team is. But if they follow the comics, Nick Fury goes on the ground. He's not supposed to be seen because he's a wanted man, and he starts up a whole new team. They could do that. That might be why he's not in all these films, because remember, he's supposed to be dead. And the world is not supposed to know where he's at. He's not supposed to be seen, period. But that's not to say that he's not pulling the strings behind the scenes also. So we really don't know. It could be really interesting. And Marvel has a tendency of not, not they're keeping their cards close to their chest, right? They're not going to reveal him yet. So, yes, we might want to see Nick Fury in the next films, but it's like, no, we have a bigger thing that's going on to play with Nick Fury, which is why they'll have him in Captain Marvel. And a thought is going around for Captain Marvel, which comes out in 2019, before, I believe, or after Avengers 4. They both come out in 2019. Is that Nick Fury may in fact be a Skrull. Someone said that would explain why he healed a little bit more quickly than normal when he was, when he was hit by the explosives in the SUV. Others are saying that, myself included, in a lot of ways it would make sense for him to be a Skrull because he's the one that started off the Avengers Initiative, where we knew where the Kree and everybody would come through. And now, if you know the comics, you know that the Skrulls and the Kree have their, they had their war situation. So that's what they're building up towards Phase 4. After Avengers 4, they're going to be going into the more cosmic realm. So that means we'll be seeing, obviously, Guardians of the Galaxy 3. In that film, we're going to be having Adam Warlock. And eventually, I don't think they'll kill Thanos. That would be ridiculous. Thanos is that guy. I mean, they'll do what they'll need to do to Thanos, but maybe they'll learn that there's a bigger threat out there. That, yeah, I know that's a cop-out, but that's usually what happens with these type of things. Another thing I would hate for it to happen is that Thanos was just a pawn in this whole thing, and that Hela, that's going to be in Thor Ragnarok, is the main villain. Because if you know, Thanos is in love with death. And in this case, they'll be using Hela, who is the goddess of death in the Norse mythology. They'll be using her as this version of death instead of using the comic book version of death, where it's literally bone, skeleton and cloth, right? So I think having Hela in this case play the role of death is pretty smart, at least for the MCU, the cinematic universe and everything. So we'll see how it plays out from that end. But yes, if Nick Fury is in fact a Skrull, then it changes everything. The fact that the Skrulls are involved changes everything, because we don't know who is or who isn't a Skrull. And I think this is where the whole, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is where the whole secret invasion things come into play. It's where the Skrulls come on Earth, or they already been on Earth, and we don't know who's been a Skrull, or who is or who isn't a Skrull. So this could change everything, because Captain America could be a Skrull. I know that might flip folks out, but he could be a Skrull. Nick Fury would make a lot more sense. Some other folks, now it's going to make you want to go back and rewatch all the movies, if they're doing what I think they're going to do. So by 2019, if it turns out that he is a Skrull, and that there are other Skrulls that were in the main, in the that were part of the main cast, and we didn't know all along, that's gonna make you want to go back and rewatch the films to understand what did I miss, what happened, things of that nature. And that's smart, because it has playback abilities. Like, man, what did I miss? I need to go back and really just watch to see where a potential Skrull could have came in place. Maybe when somebody got hurt. Maybe when somebody was supposed to be dead. Maybe when somebody went missing. All these different things can come into play. or when you don't know. It's really interesting. Even hell, maybe some of the Guardian members are Skrulls. I doubt it, but they could be. Maybe it'll be the Guardians of the Galaxy members that could tell who's a Skrull and who's not a Skrull in that nature. So we'll see. Another thing that's interesting too is the fact that they're in the article from Yahoo. They were talking about the linear narrative for the MCU, which they were saying that Captain Marvel will be one of the earliest. Besides, excluding Captain America: The First Avenger, that should be the first movie in terms of the linear version of it. Should be Captain America. I want to say it also should be Guardians of the Galaxy, at least in that little bit of the first part, because I want to say that took place in the 80s or late 70s. So it would be that part. Then it would be Captain Marvel, then so on and so forth. But if they're not counting Guardians of the Galaxy, then it would be First Avenger, Captain Marvel, then so on and so forth from there. The next time that I do a video like for this channel or whatever, I want to make sure that I have the movies all listed in canonical order, so folks can understand the timeline, because it's a little bit tricky, because a lot of the movies take place during the same time period. Like Hulk and Iron Man 2 take place around the same time period, and Thor takes place, I believe, right after. So there are a lot of these things that collide with one another. So I'll make sure down the line we have the correct timeline so everything can follow through, so folks won't be lost, right? But yeah, I think that's all I can think about right now. And oh, also check out the little video. The article kind of is misleading. They make it sound like he was just really all upset, but it sounded like Samuel Jackson's more. He was in a friendly banter mood. You know what I mean? He wasn't like, he was his old typical mad self in like a lot of his films, right? But he brought up some really good points. Just like, how come I'm not in Black Panther? How come I'm not in Avengers 3 and 4? But this isn't anything new. Marvel has a reputation for doing this with their films. They keep their actors, and sometimes sometimes probably even the directors in the dark. The only person that we know that knows what's truly going on is Kevin Feige. And Feige ain't going to say anything, so we'll have to see what goes on. So this year, we have Thor Ragnarok to look towards to. Next year, of course, is Black Panther in February. Then 2 months later, after March and April, when we kick off into May, that first week in May, we'll be going into Avengers Infinity War. It's a great time to be excited for comics, like for comic book movies. Not just with Marvel and DC, but the whole nine. From the stuff that's going on with Netflix, with the Miller World stuff, from the stuff from Skybound, with Robert Kirkman's company, with Amazon. A lot of this stuff is really popping up now for comics, and it's not just the superhero stuff. Folks are probably going to get fatigued of the superhero stuff, which is a great time to be inviting these other content, that are based off comic books, but not superhero related. Not all of them. Excuse me. So it should be really it's a really interesting time for like this new content to come out. And yeah, this is gonna be a great time. The late as we leave the 2010s and end up into the 2020s, it's gonna be a really interesting time for entertainment at large. And yeah, it's great. So that's all I have for you guys for this particular news on this particular video. I have some more stuff that's coming down the pipe real soon. Like for this channel, we're working on some cool stuff for you guys. I also have some personal stuff that's going on my personal channel. Just type in Blaine Dots and I'm there on that channel. The stuff that I'm doing here is what I used to do over there, but now it's gonna be more focused on business, the business side of things for entertainment, and some other stuff that you really, folks can't really grab their minds around, whether that be some of the religious symbols, political, social, all that type of stuff, some propaganda agenda type stuff in there. So if you're interested in that, hop over to my channel over there. I'll have the link at the bottom so you can check out what's truly going on and how films are a mirror of what reality is today, or what it can be, or what it used to be. And it's important for folks to understand that. So that's it. That's all I have for you guys right now. Till next time, peace.